Hey there, clodhoppers. Well, today's going to be a little bit of a different video. I'm going to talk about part of the plant propagation process I've been doing with some Rose of Sharon cuttings that I got from my grandmother's yard. I will say this is not the most sophisticated method of plant propagation. However, it has been successful for me in the past, and it's a low-cost method to be able to start your own plants from a larger plant that you really like the look of and you want to carry on those genetics on your property. It's a beautiful plant and I really want them here on our property, and it's hard to find these particular varieties in this area. So I wanted to take full advantage of getting not just a plant that I really enjoy the flowers of, but also have that heritage being passed from my grandmother's place to ours as we propagate Rose of Sharon's. I was really excited to be able to get another set of cuttings before her Rose of Sharon plants bushes lost all of their leaves. Yeah? Did you run over here? You sound out of breath. Very nice. Cool. So this is a Rose of Sharon cup of cuttings, and also this one back here. I've already done the process for this one today. This one is the pink Rose of Sharon, and you know how we try to reuse here. This plant stake went to a totally different plant, and probably the dogs got a hold of it and it broke, but when I found out, I was like, oh, that's a great way to mark that Rose of Sharon because it says pink. So I just stick that in the cup of water with those cuttings, and that way it helps identify it. You can also write with a Sharpie or put masking tape on it or something to identify the color, but that's what I did with that one because I found that plant stake. So like I said, I've already done the process with this one, so I'm going to show you with this other one what I've been doing. After I took these cuttings from my grandmother's plants, I put them in water as quickly as I could. In fact, I think I took a container of water out there with me, took the cuttings, and then placed them in the water. The reason for that is you don't want the stems to dry out. You want the xylem, to continue to bring the water up through the capillary tubes to the leaves. The longer they go without having water, the more leaves you're going to have die. So that's why you want to put the cuttings in water as soon as possible. Now, as far as where I took the cuttings on the stems, you can see that the bottom part right there is thicker than the rest of the stem, and that's because I cut this cutting by cutting the stem off of the main branch of the plant. They say, or I've heard that that has most of your regenerative cells, essentially a plant stem cell, to be able to grow the roots. So that's a good technique and method to use. Now, if you have a lot of long stems, that may not be possible. Otherwise, you'll have like a 2-foot long stem, and you don't want that unless you're planning on cutting it into multiple segments. So you can also take a stem and just pick about 6 to 8 inches of the stem from the point where you're going to cut, which is down here at the root end, to the tip of that particular branch, and you just cut it. You remove the leaves from the lower half, and then you can stick it in the water. Now, what I do with this, because I want to do as low maintenance as possible, because there's always plenty to do on a homestead, I just put them in an open cup, and I will try to, the goal is about 3 times a week to switch out the water. To be honest, it probably was like twice, sometimes even once a week that I switched out the water. So I probably lost more leaves than may have been necessary. If I'd changed the water more often, more of the leaves might have been kept. Are you saying up, down? Up. Are you telling everybody you started saying up, down last night? Yeah. Yeah, the dishwasher that we don't use much. We tend to wash dishes by hand, but that'll probably change at some point. Anyway, okay, back to this. So the reason you want to switch out the water fairly frequently is over time, the oxygen content within the water depletes. So then essentially the plants are starving for that oxygen, and it becomes an anaerobic, so oxygen-less condition in that water. And you need the oxygen for the plants to take root. When I switch out the water, I like to set my sink to the spray power, and I spray the leaves to knock off any leaves that are loose, so like leaves that have pretty much died back, and also to clean off any mold or slime molds that may be growing on the stem of the plant, because I did let it get a little bit anaerobic before switching out the water. It also has a third benefit, and this is part of the reason I started spraying down the leaves, is even though these stay on my window shelf in the kitchen, we have had problems with aphids in here. And also some mealybugs, which is a total pain in the booty. But anyway, so by using that jet stream on the sink sprayer, it helps remove or at least deplete the population of aphids and mealybugs. And then it's able to control the situation well enough that the plants survive until they take root and grow. So let me show you that real quick. See how that one leaf knocked off? It makes it so that only the green, healthy leaves, or the healthiest leaves, are remaining. The reason that's a benefit is if the leaves fall off while it's in the cup, and it falls into the cup like that, over time, if you don't have that chance to rinse out and refresh that water, that leaf is going to start decomposing in there, and that can bring some more molds as well. Okay, so really quick, I want to show you. This is how I labeled this purple flowering variety of the Rose of Sharon, because that's what I put the cuttings in originally. So I just set them in another glass to make it more of a dark situation, because you really don't want clear glass. It's better if you can do amber glass, although those bottles are a little bit too tall for it. So that's why I chose this method. And you just nestle the cup in there and then put your plants back in. Now, as you saw, this plant right here, I would say it's not quite ready. It does have some roots growing, more than just the little bud roots that are visible, like say here. This I would not recommend potting up in dirt yet. I would let those roots definitely get more defined. But like that one that we were seeing right here, this is getting to the point where those roots are probably almost long enough to go ahead and pot it up. Now, I'm not going to pot it up tonight, but it's good that I checked them so that now I know that I am getting some good root growth on some of these. So maybe this weekend I will try to pot some up. All right, and then I'm just going to set that right back up there on the windowsill so that it gets sunlight. This is really... This is the window that gets the most light throughout the day in our house, and even so, it's not the greatest light ever, but it's what we have to work with. So I'm kind of limited to that shelf space. Maybe that one, although that one's not as great, but then this other little corner space that's behind our kitchen sink, and that is where our purple tree collard that we purchased while we were in California at the Heirloom Expo, that is where it is growing. And I've been really excited because that's the the most growth I've ever gotten from tree collards, because usually I've gotten cuttings, not actual potted plants, and they ended up dying on me before I could do any kind of harvest. This plant, because it was potted up, I just transplanted it into a bigger pot and then let it grow. It was outside for a little bit under one of those butterfly bushes, so it was in a microclimate that it liked, because it was shaded by that butterfly bush, so it didn't have the full intensity of the sun on it, but still had plenty of dappled light for growth. And then once it started getting cold, when we had a cold snap, I went ahead and brought it in, essentially so I could baby it indoors. So I'm going to go ahead and water that real quick. And this is just a cool jar that my parents had down at their barn, but I thought it was a pretty cool jar. So that is now my tree collard watering jar. In case you're wondering, these are hens and chicks that my brother's girlfriend gave us while we were there, and a jade plant. For her in California, they grow outdoors, but here in Texas, with our cold snaps that we have during the winter, I can't put it outdoors for long term. So I need to find a pot. Oh, and if you look, the hens and chicks is already trying to root. So I really need to find a pot to put these in so they can plump up and get happy and be able to survive here in Texas. Say join us next time. Bye-bye.
Hey Cloud Hoppers, thanks for watching the video. Push the thumbs up to like the video. Also hit that subscribe button, also the bell, so that you can get notifications when our videos come out.
Check us out on our social media pages too. We have Facebook and Pinterest, and soon we'll have Instagram. The links are below. Bye y'all.
Bye. Good job.